Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're jumping into a couple of really powerful stories from the Old Testament, specifically from 2 Kings, chapters 3 and 4. These chapters are packed with action, miracles, and some incredible lessons about faith and provision that are just as relevant for us today as they were thousands of years ago. Let's start with chapter 3. We have this alliance of 3 kings, Joram of Israel, Jehoshaphat of Judah, and the king of Edom. They team up to go to war against Maaseiah, the king of Moab, who had rebelled against Israel. They decide to take a roundabout route through the wilderness of Edom, and pretty quickly, they run into a major problem. There's no water. Their armies and their animals are on the brink of collapse. It's a disaster. In his desperation, Jehoshaphat, the good king of the bunch, asks, "Isn't there a prophet of the Lord here we can ask?" And that's when they find Elisha. Now, Elisha isn't exactly thrilled to see Joram, the king of Israel, who was not following God. But for Jehoshaphat's sake, he agrees to help. He calls for a musician, and as the music plays, the power of the Lord comes upon him. Elisha gives them this wild instruction. Dig this valley full of ditches. Imagine that. They are dying of thirst. And he tells them to start digging. He promises that even though they won't see wind or rain, the valley will fill with water. But here is the kicker. He also tells them that God will give them victory over Moab. They just had to do this one seemingly strange thing first. So they obeyed. They dug the ditches. And the next morning, water miraculously flows in from the direction of Edom, filling the entire valley. The Moabites, seeing the water glinting like blood in the morning sun, think the kings have turned on each other and rush in to collect the loot. This leads them straight into an ambush, and Israel wins a decisive victory. This story is such a great reminder that sometimes God's instructions might not make sense to us, but our obedience unlocks His provision and victory in ways we can't even imagine. Now, let's shift gears to chapter 4, which is a collection of some of Elisha's most personal and touching miracles. First, we meet a widow of a prophet. Her husband has died, leaving her in massive debt. The creditor is coming to take her 2 sons as slaves. She's desperate and goes to Elisha for help. Elisha asks her a simple question. "What do you have in your house?" "All she has is a small jar of oil, just a little bit." Elisha tells her to go borrow as many empty jars as she can from her neighbors. Then, she's to go inside, shut the door, and start pouring her little bit of oil into all the empty jars. She does exactly as he says, and miraculously, the oil keeps flowing until every single jar she borrowed is full. Elisha then tells her to sell the oil, pay off her debts, and live on the rest. What an amazing picture of God's abundance. He takes the little we have, the seemingly insignificant, and multiplies it to meet not just our need, but to give us more than enough. Next, we meet the Shunammite woman. She is a wealthy woman who recognizes Elisha as a man of God and generously builds a room for him to stay in whenever he passes by. To repay her kindness, Elisha prophesies that she will have a son, even though she and her husband are old. A year later, it happens exactly as he said. But then, tragedy strikes. Years later, the boy gets a severe headache and dies in his mother's arms. But this woman's faith is incredible. Instead of panicking, she lays her son on the bed in Elisha's room and sets off to find the prophet without even telling her husband the boy has died. Her determination is fierce. When she finds Elisha, she falls at his feet in anguish. Elisha rushes to her home, goes into the room, and prays to the Lord. He lies on the boy, and the boy's body warms up. He does it again, and the boy sneezes 7 times and opens his eyes. He is alive. This story shows us the power of persistent faith and the heart of a God who can bring life from death. The chapter ends with 2 more quick miracles. Elisha purifies a pot of poisonous stew, turning a deadly meal into a safe one for a group of prophets. Then, with just 20 loaves of barley bread, he feeds 100 men, and there are even leftovers. So, from a dry valley filled with water to a jar of oil that never runs out, from a boy raised from the dead to 100 men fed with a few loaves of bread. These chapters show us a God who is intimately involved in the details of our lives. He provides, He restores, and He multiplies. He meets us in our lack, in our grief, and in our everyday needs. These aren't just ancient stories. They're an invitation for us to trust in that same God today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope these stories encouraged you. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the Bible. See you in the next video.